Mixing meals isn't the only way New Yorkers stir the pot.
I think it just takes a large group of people in order to spark like the smallest kind of subculture or counterculture.
And there's nothing like a subculture that takes 19th century living to the edge of imagination.
Steampunk, religiously and by strict definition, is Victorian science fiction gone amok.
To me, the question is, how much is this really genuine entertainment and how much of it is like going to a costume party? Because I don't really like costume parties. So my first stop is the Anachronism, a giant steampunk gathering in Manhattan, to find out why this historical fantasy fun is so popular.
People walk around in, hipster gear with top hats and leather anyway, so it really fits very well.
Steampunk, a term coined in a letter by science fiction author K.W. Jeter in 1987, now represents a broad spectrum of neo-Victorian activities.
Steampunk is a lifestyle.
Outwardly, the most obvious signs are goggles and top hats. Inwardly, there is a politeness, there is a formality that goes along with steampunk.
Walking sticks, canes, umbrellas, parasols, pretty much any accessory you would need to either ward off the rain or the sun or an attacker.
That's right, steampunk even has its own form of self-defense, Bartitsu.
It sounds like a pole dancer I met about a week and a half ago.
Not quite, but I'm still curious. So I'm off to Professor Mark P. Donnelly's nearby Bartitsu class to find out.
It is a formless form. There's no right or wrong. There's alive and dead.
After your defense, always counter. Nice and slow.
The big reason why it became really popular today was because it was mentioned very briefly in the Sherlock Holmes story as a type of skill that Holmes knew.
As a Sherlockian and a martial artist, an amateur historian, and a fan of Victorian attire, to me this was everything I loved in one marvelous package.
Bartitsu was developed in 1898 by Englishman E.W. Barton-wright, but disappeared only a few years later. If it weren't for the republishing of historical magazine articles in the early 21st century, the technique would be all but forgotten, and I wouldn't be here.
It was, a Victorian mixed martial art. So, how cool is that? Well, people into steampunk love Victorians.
I have no experience with martial arts. I've never taken a single karate class.
At least I'm wearing the right clothes.
I didn't have, running shoes.
I mean, you don't get to choose what shoes you're wearing when somebody attacks you. Right. So you have to work with whatever you got. The idea is that I'm carrying this when I'm attacked, and therefore, it's either an encumbrance and I have to defend myself with one hand, or I'm going to find a way to use this to my advantage.
Nice and slow.
Yeah.
Reach, get offline, good, turn. Reaching towards you again, get offline, turn. Good.
And then I hook you, right?
Yes, right
Maybe
here,
like a little more like that, right?
Be able to pull it right from here.
Pull you down and then go whang!
He's talking about a philosophy, which is basically when somebody grabs you, knock them onto the ground and beat the crap out of them.
I don't know what you're doing for lunch, but maybe you want to...
As my opponent helps me up like a true gentleman, I can see that in a city known for setting trends, sometimes you need to go back in time to be on the edge of innovation. With fewer than 20 Bartitsu clubs in the world and only a dozen experts, history is now hip. While the steampunk scene reimagines the past, other New Yorkers have fun getting